He's your friend. Okay, well, he's your friend. What do you do down there for the friend?
I don't, when I go to the,
Okay, Dan, we're live streaming, so this is all on the air.
My wife is, you know what, I'm so literal over her shoulder, it's whatever that's screaming. What is your team? Oh, thanks. After 41 years, I don't even argue with her. I get up and I come down. That's I'm happy.
25 years.
But you know what? After a while, I learned that somebody might have worked like this. I appreciate it. I wouldn't know if they got anything. And if there's a mistake, they should start. You know, this is not an election event, so I'll see you in a couple of minutes.
I'm taking pictures of empty seats.
Great.
Excuse me, can I get you just to move over a little bit? Are they not letting anybody else in? No.
Yeah, well, I'm not.
Not interesting.
You get a signal?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm still streaming. I just got the congressman. I don't think you could hear him speaking very well. I couldn't get quite close enough, but.
Let's see if I can do it live.
And as you can see, we've got empty seats over here, and they're not letting anyone else in. Plenty of empty seats.
Okay, how are you planning to amend the relationship?
I'm not going to ask the question. Beth wants me to start chants, and I'm like if he doesn't answer, but oh my gosh, I'm afraid I'm not going to have the guts to do the chants.
You have to.
What if people don't join me and I look like a big okay. Why would you put an introvert in charge of starting the chants? Who did that? Beth did. She put you in charge of
Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to get started. If we have everybody take their seats. So, good morning. My name is Gary Friend. I'm a council member here at Oceanside. Oceanside. This is my housekeeping. Let's hit for Oceanside. Just one housekeeping thing. The restrooms are out in the lobby. The women's are this way and into that way. You walk through those doors and get inside. So we're going to get started in a few minutes. We want to see how many seats are still open. So if everybody can take their seats. So if we have some open seats, we can bring a few more people in the conference in about less than 3 or 4 minutes. All right, thank you.
Just not.
Yeah. One more.
Dang. Yeah, I have 3. It keeps going. It's like between 2 and 3. It kind of keeps going back and forth. Or save our healthcare. Should we do a save our healthcare chant right now before you start?
We are gonna be, I don't know, that's my, gonna be,
Yeah.
send a message across to avoid it. They're going to tell us how we can speak to other. Let's see. Right, right. Even though I'm very positive. I'm a mean person.
lesson. I hope you listen to me in the morning. I think it was 70 and watching the US Side Channel 9 for a contributor. We're gonna, I'll tell you what, I love seeing the great spirit of America here. Whether you're on one side or on the other, great outside, inside. Just as I don't think there were parameters of getting the office works with the question, we take numbers, so we have no idea what the random numbers. I'll post them. Congressman Issa will get through as many of them as possible before we then move out this way, bring the next session in. There are a lot of players out there who don't want to get in for the second round. So we appreciate your cooperation, the revenue and all this. And I know you signed up online. There were some things like make sure that you're in the district, you get some parameters. How many of you are here from out of the district? That's just curious. Pretty good.
Do you want to just give it to him now?
And you're here, and you got through, and welcome. Good to have you here.
Story.
Questions. I'm here to moderate, so we'll have a good time. And again, we ask, when you get to the questions, we want you to keep them brief, okay? That does help, because then we get through more questions, all right? Get the speeches outside, that's good. So please welcome Congressman Darrell Issa here in just a moment. We're going to play on the colleagues first. The colleagues is standing right here. Please rise as the United States Marine Corps parades the colors and will do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I like the shouting out indivisible. That was smart.
Nobody knows that if you know that. That is too sad.
Let's thank the members of the United States Marine Corps. Please welcome the man of the hour, your public servant. He works for us. He knows that. Congressman Darrell Issa.
Good morning. Whether you're inside the district or out of the district, I would assume. No. I would assume that you're all concerned citizens who are here either want to say something, want somebody else to say something, or want an answer to something. And that's what we're here for. So I'm going to ask for just some small ground rules. If you don't do it, you're only embarrassing yourselves and our community. So it boils down to, I'm not looking for applause, and I hope that we won't anybody's question. If there's a lot of noise over whatever I'm trying to say to answer, I will simply pause, and I will pause for as long as I cannot effectively give you an answer. If it goes on long enough, Mark will simply say, next question. Now, that's not my intent. 2 weeks ago, I answered for 90 minutes people's questions. I'm sure not every question got asked. Folks, relax. I understand you didn't know that I would come to your Tuesday protest. That's okay. I thought I was welcome since it was at my office. My opening presentation presentation, for what it's worth, hopefully will be informative. I do not work for the executive branch. Questions, understand one thing. I investigated the Obama administration, that's true. I also investigated the Bush administration. There's plenty of record of things that happened wrong in both of those 16 years. On top of that, I represent all Americans. So I hope that the questions today will be based on exactly that. Not what do we do for you, or you, or you, or me, but what we do for America. And that's all I ask. There are no, one other ground rule. Remember, when you raise your sign above about here, the people behind you don't get to see. So do not assume for a moment that everybody behind you is thrilled to see a sign instead of someone else. If you're in the back row, please feel free to hold up signs as high as you want, as long as they don't block the cameras. And if you want to hold up a big sign like the gentleman there, at some point, please go to the back row and hold them up where the cameras can take a picture of them. Other than that, that was my entire opening statement. Mark, I'm prepared to start hearing your concerns and answering questions.
All right, we'll throw microphones out here. Thank you, Congressman Issa. As you're watching here, I blindly just went into these are the little tickets you have when you came in. All right. Went in there, pulled
I'm not picking those out.
Oh, you're not. I don't touch those. There's no way of knowing if it's, they're blue tickets, but they could be red tickets. We don't know, but they're blue tickets. We're just going by the numbers. Here are the first four. Okay, so if this is your number, look for our roll.
Wait. No.
Nobody can read that. Nobody can read that.
You read it.
Oh, come on.
Okay, are you guys good with those numbers?
Like, we're adults here.
All right, these are all 977 numbers. So look at the last, actually 9775. So the last three digits, 758, 9775, 758. You're first up. That's the first one drawn. Then 9775637. 637. And last three digits of the next are 751 and 640. So if those are your numbers, look for our roving microphones here, and you'll have your chance. Here's a roving microphone now, okay? Let's take 758, and if you just, all four of you get up, we'll just go to you here and expedite things, all right?
Good morning, Congressman Issa. I'm so glad to speak to you face to face. I've been trying for probably 5 years. But what I'd like to ask you is, there are 11 million undocumented people in this country, and we depend on their labor. Honestly, none of us would have food on our plates without it. So what I'd like to know from you is, what is your plan to address comprehensive, humane immigration reform that allows the people who have been here in this country working really hard for many years to work in dignity openly, and for their families to not have to suffer from deportations that separate parents and children? Do you plan to address it, and when will that be? Thank you.
Your complex question is exactly one of the challenges. Your question, and I'm just trying to answer this as I can. Your question begs a whole lot of. And in order to assume that way that it hasn't worked for years. So let me answer the first part of your question, agricultural workers. I say this to people on the left, right, this room. We have to find a way to affect agricultural guest worker program. Here's the reason. Even if today we all working who are here in undocumented capacity, what would happen once we normalize it, they would move again need another 2 million.
No.
That's
No.
1986. So my proposal, the first part of your question, my proposal has always been, and I worked with Howard Berman when he was Los Angeles congressman on something called Ag Jobs. We need to transition to something that says to our neighbors, particularly Honduras, Guatemala, obviously Mexico, and a few other countries, If you will work with us on an effective guest worker program, we will open those jobs for extended periods of time to agricultural workers, not their whole families, but to the workers, so they can get 4 to 8 times as much money here and change lives back in their own country. That's what a guest worker program is intended to do. It's not a migration, it's not immigration, it's a guest worker. Now, many of the proposals, and all of them that I think that have a chance to succeed in that one narrow category, all make an assumption that it's too late to start from scratch, that the workers and often their families are here, and often the families include American citizens. So there's got to be a transition in that deal. But if you don't accept the premise that we have a permanent need for agricultural workers, which as soon as you become a mainstream American, it doesn't represent the kind of hard work, even for $20 or $25 effectively an hour, that Americans do, and they migrate out of it. Then what we need to do is agree to deal with, and I'm going to call it the sins of the past, the government sins of the past, in an ineffective program, but go to a program that actually says to our partners, particularly South and Central American, Central and Northern, South of us, Mexico, that we will make an agreement, but that agreement is a win-win. So that's what Howard Berman and I worked on years ago. It's still what I believe we can do. And it's really no different than the people who come here for summer jobs to work in our resorts. That program works much better. Now, for the rest of the challenge, on the high end, we don't have a problem with H-1B and scientists. So what we have is a plethora of other jobs. What we have to do as Americans, and I'm speaking to every American here, but also every American, we have to figure out, are these undocumented immigrants in jobs that Americans will do, that Americans are being displaced by a system that's gone through the back door? Oh,
No, they're not.
And so the point is, I don't think we have a solution for 11 million people. What we should do is build a set of criteria that is humane, as you said, that transitions from a failed system, which we're in, to a system in which some people come here as guest workers, some people come here as immigrants, and we look at every person who has not otherwise broken laws as a possible person for that conversion. But again, anyone who says everyone here is hardworking and plays by the rules hasn't been to our county jails. You can't say everyone. So if you're going to be rude, it's your privilege. But if you disagree with the following principles, then I don't understand how you got that agreement. Believe me. One, for everyone in this room, isn't there at least one person, one illegal immigrant we would like to keep? At least one.
Yeah. What is he saying? They're not property.
They're human beings.
And isn't there at least one person that we want to send back to their home country after they get out of prison? Okay, so the first thing we've come up with is we all agree there's at least one person, or almost all, and some people think there's nobody who should be deported. We're going to agree to disagree at that point. Next question.
Okay, now I've been told that some of you want to see bigger numbers. I will make bigger numbers. Let me tell you.
Can you, let's go, come on.
Okay, just make sure we're all here. As we take one, these up to 3, then we'll draw more, all right? So we have 758, 637, 751, 640. So let's go back down here to the next up here.
Okay, and she doesn't give up the mic because a 2-minute question turns into a 10-minute question.
So, Congressman, if I get emotional about this is very,
Just relax. These people will give you all the time you need.
My family has been profoundly impacted by mental illness. Mentally ill and treatment. Without that treatment, I can't imagine where our family would be today. With insurance under the Affordable Care Act, it has cost our family out of pocket $60,000. That's a lot.
How does your proposed health plan mandate coverage for mental illness? So I've seen access, but I haven't seen anything that guarantees coverage for mental illness, which was afforded under the ACA. And how does it compare with the Republican proposal that was just announced? Thank you.
We have one, as far as I know, one psychiatrist, happens to also be a military officer and a Congressman Murphy, who has championed that issue and made sure that each time there's a bill or proposed bill, even separately from these actions, has been pushing both the reality of what you're saying, that this devastates a family and it has to be covered like any other catastrophic illness. And also the fact that there's an awful lot that can be done early on that both saves lives and other secondary costs. And for me, I'm not an expert on it. My understanding is, and you asked about my bill, so I'll get to that in just a second. My understanding is we are not changing those mandates, but I can tell you this, Congressman Murphy's vote will require that we not in any way lessen anything available from that standpoint. Back to my bill, for those who haven't looked at what I've been pushing one part of a comprehensive overhaul, and that is the California, we have the largest exchange in California for obvious reasons, but in state after state, the problem is, well, people leave the exchange, either don't get insured or go elsewhere, and people with needs are in the exchange. And of course, that creates an adverse pool, a pool in which the only people in it are people who need more than would be a normal rate of payment. And so what I proposed was that we start with the federal workforce, over 9 million people and their families, who already represent a healthy pool. We add to it the access for a broader array of private employers, small business people who just look for a way to do something for their employees at a reasonable rate. We then add to it state workers, and there's some school teachers or other state workers in the room. Okay, you have wonderful plans. I'm not interested in your plan, but I am interested in your pool, because the fact is state workers are a very healthy, high paid, compared to the average American, if you will. I know it doesn't feel that way. But remember, at about 35,000, you start tipping over. But remember, state workers always also tend to have college degrees and so on. If we add those pools, what we do for you is, if you're in an exchange, you're in an exchange that starts off at a fairer size and pool, and is more likely to attract both people with needs, but also people who simply want health care. And it's that stable pool that allows it to remain affordable. Now, that proposal is strictly to fix what I saw before it happened, that 50 little exchanges were going to tend to some succeed and some fail, and that's what's happening. I believe that a national bidding, 250 separate programs, with a pool of all federal and state and local workers, will give you a base that won't easily go one way or the other, and as a result would maintain what we would call normal affordability. So I want people to understand what I'm pushing for is just the common sense of, I was a small employer, I guess I'm a small employer again, but when I was a small employer and then got a little bigger and bigger, it wasn't until I got to about 100 employees that I had power to get my employees good plans, maybe 2 or 3 or less employees. The insurance companies own you, and you have very little choice as an employer, which means your employees don't get a good deal. So that's what the bill intends to do. But I can assure you one answer. We will, that's a separate question you may ask. We will make sure that there is no rollback of mental illness in this bill as far as it being treated like any other injury or illness.
Let's go back here next up. We have one more that we'll talk in. Okay, right back here.
Number 4.
That's, okay, where's number 3? I don't know if we have to use an order. We're just going to go through the 4, otherwise we'll be here all day. All right.
Yes, Congressman Issa, I'm Stephen Boshinsky, I live in South Oceanside. My question is, since Trump Care eliminates the 3.8% surtax on investment income on individuals making more than $250,000, how much will this benefit you personally, Congressman, in dollars? According to the financial report filed by you with Congress for the year 2015, the low estimate of what looks to me like your investment income was $31 million, and the high estimate was $80 million.
Well, wait a second. Have you done the math? Why don't you just give me the answer? This is not between us, between this gentleman. Thank you. I mean, yes, anytime taxes are reduced or increased, somebody who was fortunate enough to build a pretty good sized company, sell it and put it into purely, by the way, purely mutual funds. All I own in that whole portfolio, as you can see when you look through it, was mutual funds. Those mutual funds will do, in fact, turn out both capital gains and ordinary income. And if you take whatever tax and you apply it to that, that's what you're going to get. No question at all. I don't make any votes about it. And why should I? I was never a government contractor. I built my company in the private sector in the consumer electronics industry. And those revenues, quite frankly, yes, they occur and I pay my taxes. So the answer is, if you want somebody who has no income, who lives on $174,000 and lives in their office, okay, choose that person. Okay. But if you have somebody who divests themselves of every individual stock, puts it in mutual funds, and then takes whatever the revenue that comes from it is, that's what I've done, and I think that's the fairest way. I won't benefit from any particular change in tax policy, and quite frankly, you know, taxes go up, taxes go down. That's not what this bill is about. Next question.
Hold on. All right, this won't work if we all do that. Appreciate the passion. I love the science. The agree or disagree thing is great because you can see it from up here.
We don't need to hear your voice.
Where's our fourth one here? Yes, sir. Then we'll draw again. I'll draw again while you're doing this.
Congressman Issa, my name is Dr. Kenneth Reed. I'm a healthcare provider, I'm a physician. And I applaud you for getting together the physician and healthcare community and meeting with them and gaining their interest. And it's nice to know that the physician voice is heard. What did you learn from gathering the ideas of the physician?
As I would have said just when I was growing up, boy, that's a complex answer, and I'm going to be a little short. I'll just give you a couple of things. First of all, that many of the policies that are not related to the Affordable Care Act are driving up costs, and that we've got to change some of those. One of them that we talked about was the elimination of clinics, which actually operate for less money delivering care. And as those clinics go away in favor of hospital-owned facilities, they may or may not relocate to the hospital, but the cost goes up, particularly government paid. We obviously talked about the pools, and we talked about some of the specialties. And I think that's where, when I look at what's going on in the Affordable Care Act, and I meet with, we had hospital administrators, we had one chiropractor there, we had a patient's advocate. What we heard was there are so many things that need to be fixed if we're going to lower the cost of health care, which has absolutely nothing per se to do with insurance. Insurance is more a reflection of the cost of health care. I think that was really important point. And we're not done having those. I asked to have them on a regular basis because some of these policies, and I'll just give you one because I think it's the one most people here don't know about. And it was the one I just mentioned. if you've got a local clinic, probably physician-owned clinic, a few doctors get together, and you go in there and you banged up your knee, and the reimbursement there for Scripps. Now, I'm not upset about Scripps, but if Scripps buys that clinic and puts their name on it, that is paid, goes up. And you look and say, well, wait a second, what we're trying to do is deliver health care to people at an affordable price with nobody selling for below cost. But that's one of the problems today is we're seeing small clinics owned disproportionately by clinics, by non-hospitals, disappear. And the net result is healthcare cost goes up. If you don't mind, I'm gonna say one thing that he did since that meeting. Elijah Cummings and I have been seen on TV more than a few times, you may have noticed. We've done a lot of legislation together. Right now, he was just at the White House asking why it is that we cannot, at least in some part, do what the Veterans Administration does and buy our pharmaceuticals in bulk and get a better price. And you may or may not be aware of this, but he got full agreement from the president. And that means that there's a real chance for a bipartisan effort to buy, at least as to the federal government's programs, pharmaceuticals and other devices at a better price by simply buying in bulk. So that's one of the things that Elijah Cummings and I will be working on.
All right, we've drawn again here. I made these bigger. You notice I've shifted to a blue ink. Oh, come on. Next, I'll use red ink. I'm just trying to be the impartial moderator. Look at your last three digits and then stand up if I call your last three digits. 597 744 742. Those will be out just that way. There you are. 597 744 742. Right over here.
I'm a terrible public speaker, but I'm doing this for my son Charlie, who has Fragile X syndrome. It's a developmental delay, and our family relies on Medi-Cal to meet his medical needs. With the cuts, the proposed rollbacks to Medicaid, how will his needs be met as he lives his life?
And again, any statement I make today is about a bill that has only been being marked up in the last 2 days.
It's your personal opinion. It's your personal opinion.
So, currently, if you're on standard Medi-Cal, there's absolutely no change whatsoever in the forecast. If you're on Medicaid expansion, in other words, a portion of Medi-Cal that covered people not previously covered, then nothing will change until January of 2020. Thank you very much. Then we're working on a series of grants and credits, and I'm looking at that bill the same as you are. What I will say is I'm going to ask a question to all of you, and I'll get the disagrees. I'm ready for it. So, if your child is completely disabled and absolutely no capability of taking care of themselves, and you're a classic Medi-Cal recipient, or your child is, it's a 50-50 deal. The federal government pays half, and the state of California pays half. Under Medicaid expansion, we always call it Medi-Cal, but in every other state pretty much it's Medicaid. Under Medicaid expansion, the deal was 100% for the first year paid for by the federal government, and then 90% thereafter. So one of the questions has always been, and I hope we all look at it from a standpoint of how much skin should the states have in taking care of various challenges, medical challenges. The original deal in Medicaid was intended to be a partnership between the federal government and the states, with the states taking the lead on solutions. So the one thing that always bothered me was the people who were higher up the food chain, if you will, had less reason to need assistance, were getting 90% in perpetuity, 100% originally, from the federal government. I said from day one that the partnership should never have been different. It should have been the same. It should have been whatever the state rate was, 50-50, some states were a little better. And I will tell you, I continue to champion that in Congress, that we shouldn't have two steps in Medicaid, because if there's two steps in Medicaid and the federal government's paying more, it's always going to be irresistible for the states to say yes, and for the federal government to say, okay, now how do we pay for it? So there is clearly the ability to go in. In your case, it would depend on your economics, whether or not you would be getting prepaid.
Not my economics, it's my son. It's completely separate.
Then he is a standard Medicaid, and there is no,
You're saying that he will not.
there is no change in, if your child before Obamacare was, hey, it's not affordable, and by the way, Obama.
Yes, it is.
Back to your question. Medicaid is not being changed by this bill. The expansion was not that. So in the case of your child that's 100% disabled, there will be no change. Thank you. All right, hold on.
Gentlemen, love your passion, but were you 597 now? 597. Let's go to 744. 744 next.
Okay, can I take a personal privilege? Who's got a microphone? Yeah, would you come on up here for just a second? I know, you're gonna have lots of them. You can tell any class. Would you get the gentleman up front? Because I promised him I'd let him ask a question. There's a lot of people that have the same question.
Here's the question that I have. My name is Dimitri Demidov, and I'm a resident of Oceanside for 11 years. I've been in the U.S. half of my life, exactly 21 years. 20 years lived in Russia. I watch very closely what's going on in Russia in the politics, especially with Putin, and what's going on now in America. I run a Facebook page called Unofficial Justice, where I put links together. So my question is related. It is very much related to this subject. Congress initiated effort of investigations of Trump's ties to Russia. A week and a half ago was defeated on an 8-11 party line vote. And 8-11 party line vote means that there are a couple of gentlemen, congressmen on the Republican Party that voted against it and swayed the vote against it. One of them was Darrell Issa. Okay. Besides the ever so repeated narrative about Russia's hybrid war, which includes hacking, which includes information war, and besides the fact that there are reports by intelligence agencies, including joint CIA and FBI reports available on the government's website confirming the interference. We have 25 people in the administration of the White House, 25 people that have direct ties with Russia, including the president and executive, and Trump's son, executive vice president of Trump International, Trump's daughter, Trump's senior advisors and son-in-law, Trump's secretary of state, attorney general,
Okay, I think we got it. Thank you. Here's the question.
That you'll vote against the investigation.
Okay, we get that. Okay. Okay. I got a question. The question was on my vote.
Yeah. Special prosecutor!
Okay. I supported the recusal of the Attorney General because I was on the same National Security Advisory team as then candidate Trump, and I knew you could not be on a campaign Thank you very much, but one question, one answer, please. If your number's called, you get to do that.
Except for. You have a number?
Oh, trust me, this one was gonna come up. Come on, get dressed up for this. The fact is, I called for the statute. And the question on Bill Maher was very specific, and I stand by it 100%. The two questions that Bill Maher asked, which are similar to Dimitri's. One, should the Attorney General recuse himself? Of course, it should have an independent individual who was not connected to the campaign. It now does.
Who?
Secondly,
Who?
Secondly, should there be what people commonly call special prosecutor? But I think I have to explain, it won't take long, but I have to explain. The special prosecutor statute expired. There is no such thing. And trust me, the Democrats in Congress would not vote to create a new permanent law to do that. They didn't like it under Kevin Starr. However, if you look up 28 CFR 600.1, okay, that is the procedure I was talking about, Bill Maher. And that's where the Attorney General, or in this case, the Attorney General now having recused himself, the individual puts together a team that has independent authority to investigate something. Now, what the deputy said in his confirmation, and I think we have to realize he went before the Senate afterwards and said this, and is being confirmed, okay? So, you know, you got to figure that the Senate, here's what he said. He said, I have to know that we have the elements of an investigation specifically that I then tell them to do. And he said that. Do you support an investigation? Well, yes, I do. Now, now that you've agreed to investigation, Dimitri's number one concern is that evil son of a blank in Russia. The fact is, Putin was evil when President Bush thought he could see into his soul. President Obama tried to work with him in Iran, and we're going to get a nuclear bomb.
Oh,
Putin,
come on.
Putin went into Ukraine, into Crimea. Hold on, folks. He went into Crimea, he went into Ukraine, and he used cyber attacks. So,
Yeah, you're telling us what we are.
I not only support investigating whether there are any ties to anyone, including, you know, you keep asking for something that doesn't exist, so. Okay, the bottom line is, there is a lot to investigate. I serve on the committee that oversees the FBI. I intend on making sure that we investigate thoroughly.
Do your job! 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 Do your job!
We'll never get to the other questions. I just want to, can I just say?
Then stop talking.
Read the number! Read the number! Read the number! Yeah.
Here we go. Back here, dude.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Brandy Clayton, and I work for the Women's Resource Center here in We've been providing services for domestic violence here in Oceanside for over 40 years. We give services to approximately 6,000 families every year. The current administration has floated a budget in which it will cut all funding to the Office of Violence Against Women. That funding
helps to fund all of the services that we provide under VAWA, the Violence Against Women Act. Now, you've stated that you're a proponent, and we know that you voted for it. But what are you going to do to keep that money from being
spent? When we reauthorized VAWA, Violence Against Women Act, we did so on a bipartisan basis, and it will be funded.
Senator, I have a question for you.
Just a lowly House member to go ahead.
I've known you for a little while. We've run into you a few times here in town. My question is that as a company film owner, as myself, in the film business, and I started my company a few years back. And the problem we have is a lot of business people continue to deal with the IRS pretty much bullies the people pretty much have a lot of control by telling us how much we pay them. I'm very fortunate to have a CFO and family that watches what they make, how much money we make. And pretty much we put the accounts aside for how much, if I make $1 million filming a movie, we take that money and take the taxes out of that, put that into an account. I thought the IRS for 5 years, and I'm not understanding why the IRS continues to have this much power over people that own their own businesses when they do not owe the amount of money that the IRS tells us they owe. And then also controls their livelihood, they put liens on their homes, and they just really make a mess. And how do we fight them in the right way?
Okay. Come on, we must all agree that nobody really likes the IRS. It's just us. So I'm going to answer it as succinctly as anyone could. First of all, the caseworkers in my office deal with people with IRS problems that are not of their making all the time. Second of all, the reason the IRS has the power it has and can do a lot of what it does is that we gave it an absolute independence. And we did so in order to keep Republicans, Democrats, presidents, everybody out of using it as a tool. No, I know that. That's hilarious. Laughs and cheers. But 103 is a law that says unless you give me specific permission to help you and access to your tax records, even if you give me your tax records, I can't ask the IRS a question without that approval. And we do that to try to maintain the independence. But the answer to your question for all of us in the room is, if we were to make our tax code the same, let's say, as Germany's, which is 1/10 as long, you might not pay less taxes, but you would have less trouble with the IRS if we could get rid of all of the pluses and minuses and loopholes that have been built up. So the reality is, what you're asking for is a reform that everyone talks about, but I haven't seen in my years, which is instead of piling on more regulations, we really do need to overhaul the tax code to get rid of the loopholes, but at the same time to make it fairer for everyone to pay essentially an agreed-on rate. And I look forward to working on that, but I will tell you that is hard. It hasn't happened in my years. The last time it really happened was in the Reagan administration, when Republicans and Democrats came together and agreed to a lower rate, but people paying that rate. We need to get back to that. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to 3 more here, and I think if we all cooperate, we'll get through these. 663-809-523. That doesn't help. 663-809-523. Last 3 digits. Who has 663? Right over here. That's 663 here. All right. All right, we have time for these 3 before we wrap up here. So let's.
My name is Catherine Shield. I'm a member of the State Bar of California. I'm a patriot. My First Amendment rights were violated in this room I had a very small sign that said investigate Russia now. There are many other people who have signs here. Your bodyguard, security guard, came over and took my sign away from me forcibly. I asserted my First Amendment rights of free speech. I told him it was suppression of speech. It was also, you know.
Can you hold on for a second? Who's got the sign?
They took it away from me.
No. Hold on. The only instruction was that signs that were large enough to obstruct, like the gentleman down there that still has his.
My sign was not large enough to obstruct.
I apologize. The instructions we had, that gentleman's
Mine was much smaller than that.
And I sincerely apologize. As you can see, I gave no instructions. The fact that uniformly, the ones that say the 8.5 by 11.
Mine was small. It was forcibly taken from me, and it constituted a battery. It was your staff.
Well, okay. Thank you very much. We'll go on to somebody who doesn't have a pending lawsuit next.
All right, number 8. All right. 1809 is next. Back to the corner here.
Hi, my name is John. I go to a local high school, Pasco County High School. I'm in 10th grade. And I specifically am up to date on a lot of political issues. I do debate, policy debate in high school. And I just wanted to say that my class, we had a discussion very similar to this the other day. Four corners disagree, strongly disagree. And I feel that it's sad that we were able to have a quieter and more discussion. People would talk about ideas than here. I think that it's very sad.
I'm looking at, thank you for your comment, but I'm here today not expecting that it was going to be quiet. The only thing I ask is that it not end like Hamilton. Yes. Who's next? Please. They're coming as quick as they can.
Sir, thank you for taking this question. I realize the medical plan that you are supporting is not the one that is currently being passed by Congress. And mental health is not covered by the one that's being passed by Congress. I just sat down as a cancer survivor and currently going through cancer treatment with my doctor, and these are the things that I am faced with. The current plan that you are going to be passing, I have pre-existing conditions which will put me in a pool of high risk. I am also in my 60s, do not qualify for Social Security. So therefore, I also go into the pool that the Affordable Care Act would have kept me at a lower rate. Your plan is 5 times more than the 3 times that the Affordable Care Act was. I ask you, sir, my treatment is like $500,000 a year. I can't afford that. I can't afford not to have insurance. Insurance for me will be $60,000, $70,000 a year. I don't want to hear about your plan because your plan would benefit Californians. I want to hear what you're going to do about the plan that's being proposed by Ryan.
Break it into 2 parts. No, if you have a follow-up question, we'll take it. This is important. Yeah, please. The reason that I pushed the FEHBP, Federal Employee Health Benefit Plan, was that it never had a cap and it never had pre-existing conditions. It was fully portable. As a matter of fact, within the 250 plans, you can move around if you're a federal employee, not a congressman. We're there. So the reason I am still pushing that is that I will not be satisfied if we do not effectively take care of both pre-existing, as we could have a long discussion we did with the docs, pre-existing and how that gets worked, and portability, which ultimately was what we should have been fixing from the start. Remember, pre-existing sounds great, but then the question is, and this is the question that I'm being faced with as a fiscal responsible Republican, is so the question is, if you choose a plan, should you be able to move with no penalty to another plan because suddenly you need more? Yeah. The fact is, I support both a prohibition on using a pre-existing condition against somebody entering and portability. And I will keep fighting for both of those. What's your follow-up?
You didn't answer the question.
Hold on.
How are you going to vote?
No, look, I've read Indivisible. I understand you're asking for yes or no.
Hold on, please.
The current bill is not in a form that I approve of. I am trying to change it. But ultimately, the Affordable Care Act has problems that have to be fixed. So my intention is to keep working on the fixing. Thank you.
All right, very quickly, thank you for your cooperation. We're wrapping at 10:30. We're going to go 5 minutes from here. I got 2 more numbers. 10:30, great. 615, 615, at 604. 615, 604. We're going to take both of them, then we'll wrap up, and I appreciate your cooperation. There we go.
My name is Julie, and I have Alyssa.
You gotta crank up the mic, please.
This is a healthcare question. Under the proposed Act of Republicans, currently there's not going to be an individual mandate for insurance. Let's take this scenario. The scenario is a 30-something-year-old male presents to the local ER. Let's say Scripps Encinitas, where my husband works in critical care. They have to legally take him and treat him. Let's just say he's in the hospital for an extended period of time. He had chosen to not buy insurance because he didn't think he needed it, or he chose his own plan that is substandard. He also doesn't qualify for emergency Medicaid. He makes $40,000 a year. Who's going to pay his bill? Is the hospital going to pay the bill? The hospital pays the bill, and the hospital workers, wages go down, they work harder. Tell me who pays his bill when there's no mandate and there's no single payer system.
Your point is extremely good. I'll answer it in reverse order. We all pay through cost shifting. The healthcare system, quite frankly, passes those costs on. If your hospital says we can't afford to pay you because we take in all these indigent patients, take it up with your hospital because they're not being genuine. The fact is, healthcare rises in no small part because these things, especially hospitals specifically, because hospitals are going to break even or they're going to go out of business. How do they break even nonprofits? They shift. That $1,500 MRI is a $500 procedure, but when you throw in the overhead for emergency rooms, and we are a stone's throw away from Tri-City, and Tri-City is one of the few emergency rooms available. A lot of hospitals have decided not to take emergencies in order to avoid that cost, which means that that individual, whether they have insurance or not, is less safe because there's longer distances to go. So your question, now the main question, the employer mandate and the employee mandate, or the individual mandate, were controversial, and my party did not like them. Well, let me explain. I'll give you, and we'll go a little over, and I'll take a little less rest, but I want to make sure this gets answered. Early in the Obama administration, I was at the White House and they had tables with people from the White House and senators and House members, all of us that were, chairman and ranking members. And I happened to be seated next to John McCain, who, I agree with on occasions, and I disagree with on occasions. And I said to him, and I wasn't talking the individual, but I was talking the employer mandate. And I said, well, if you don't have the employer mandate or some other process, then employers will shift their responsibility to my emergency room, which means they shift it to my company, who's not only paying health care, but they're also now paying for your not paying health care. And I'll never forget, this was not one of those times in which the senator and I agreed. And we're there with all the Obama people, and he's yelling at me. I am not in the same boat as just any Republican. I've been an employer who struggled to provide health care for my employees. And once I was on Kathy and I were on our own, we did from day one find a way to do it. But the fact is, I do not believe that we can strip away both employer and individual mandates and not find both a carrot and a stick to get people to be financially, physically responsible for their own decisions. And will I tell you here, I won't vote for something if it strips away the mandate? I'm not going to make that commitment, but I will tell you, what I will tell you is, I will keep fighting for a recognition that that individual who chooses not to have insurance, in fact, should be held in great amount responsible. And the employer who cost shifts, and I'm just going to give you two things. These are state issues more than federal issues. The state of California certainly could view that individual's responsibility to include going after them and making sure that they pay, if you will, for their decision if they can. We don't do that. The second thing is, we could put into our law for all our employers both inducements and penalties. For example, if we took the minimum wage, how many people here support a $15 an hour minimum wage right away? If the employer mandate goes away, or you're less than 50 employees, which already doesn't have a mandate, if the state of California said, okay, we're gonna have a $15 minimum wage, but we're gonna give up to $8 in credit for health care that you're paying for your employees, people would immediately go to that. Why? Because the fact is, that would be an inducement for employers to do the right thing. And by the way, if not, then they got to pay the $15 an hour. But there's no process that the state or the federal government has done to do what you want to do. So, okay, real quick follow-up, because I'm going to take okay, now, I got all those agreed. How many veterans are in the room? Stand up, please. And thank you for your service. By the way, we honor our Marines in this building once a year. But the VA is a single payer system. And it is in crisis. Australian single payer saved my life. All right, please let me take all these questions.
All you have to do is show up for your appointment and play by the rule.
I appreciate it. We're going to take one last question, but I'm going to just say I appreciate that that's your experience. To be honest, I'm a veteran. I have had no shortcomings.
However, response, you're all talking.
I was there watching my mom's father pass away there.
Okay, all right, playing by the rules, we're all for that, especially when we're trying to wrap up. 6:04.
No, hold on.
Hold
on. But I'm not going to let this pass. General Eric Shinseki was appointed by President Obama, and he served about 6 years. When he came in, he said his challenge was to change the culture to make it take care of everyone, not some, everyone. When he resigned, and President Obama replaced him, he did so because there were a number, and they weren't Republican scandals or Democratic scandals, there were failures. We came up with the Choice Act, we came up with other things, and we funded them because we're trying to, on a bipartisan, nonpartisan basis, make sure that the VA doesn't let another person die, doesn't miss another chance for a veteran. So it's not about when it works, it's about making sure it works for everyone. Yes, sir.
Final question. Need the mic. There we go.
Congressman, my name is Mike Levin. I'm an environmental attorney.
I'm your
constituent, and I will be respectful of you, sir. But I have a question. I've had a question of you for, actually, many questions of you for a long time. But the one I want to ask about today is about climate change and environmental policy. I appreciate it.
Okay. One question.
Can I ask my question?
Understand one thing. No, one thing. Of the press, you're a candidate for office. Please ask your question.
I appreciate your time. I actually shot you on the end. Thank you for that. So this past holiday season, I sent this book. It's called Climate Change for Beginners. Because for 16 years, we've doubted the fundamental science around climate. I'd be happy to do that much more. My question is, why do you support Donald Trump's agenda? Gut EA, gut-based society.
That doesn't matter!
I'm answering your question. You asked a question. You know what? If you're fortunate enough, you're going to discover that dialogue is possible. So let me go through. No, this is the last question. And I'm gonna, so now, no, the Senate confirmed in my Now, first of all, I never received. Second of all, okay. I've been given reading material. Okay. Now, the bottom line is, I have been trying to be in a positive way. First of all, I do not support a reduction in EPA's funding. Okay? Now, we have a challenge in our society. And this may not be exactly the answer you want, but it's the answer that I think you're going to at least appreciate is where I stand. Since the 1970s and the first Earth Day when I was a camp counselor, I have known that we have a problem with sustainability for our planet. Now, Our problem included the 3.5 billion people on the planet at that time. Now there's 7 billion plus. So are we burning through carbon? Does it have, are we burning through carbon? And does it have secondary effects? One of which is CO2 loading of the atmosphere, and another one is acid rain. Another one is that it's just part of our life sustainability. Yes. So will I be a single issue candidate ever? No. Will I, in fact, recognize that we have to have clean air, clean water, and we have to deal with how to feed 7 billion people on the planet? Yes. Yes. And it's a balancing act. So if somebody, he asked the question, if somebody only cares about how much CO2 is going in the atmosphere, then you should be making sure that the opportunistic power generating companies are not artificially shutting down their power plants early, as much as 30 years early, and putting CO2 in the atmosphere because natural gas is replacing it. No. Sanofi shut down. Right now, throughout America, companies have decided that it's too expensive to run a nuclear plant without zero emissions. And instead, what they're doing is they're switching to natural gas and turning those off. Why? Because it's temporarily cheaper. So we're going to burn more natural gas, not less. There are lots of issues in clean air and clean water. And the EPA was created by Richard Nixon. It is in fact not a Republican or a Democratic organization. It's an organization that has a mandate, and I will continue to support sensible aspects of that mandate and funding for it. Thank you all for being here.
Did you get all that? Thank you. The sound wasn't great. It wasn't great quality. I was kind of looking over and I said, well, good, I hope, because my wife didn't see what I tried to put up. Thank you, man. Yes, thank you. Thank all of us for being here. Well, I do.
Oh, where does he want us to start?
I'm over looking at your equipment and they're
Patronizing, which you did to us, I would strongly encourage that if you have the mind to ask them not to patronize you, you're an adult, you're a constituent, you're smart, and you vote. Hoorah!
That's crazy.
You want to get online?
What?
Are you trying to get online?
No, I already went
Oh.
the first one.
Yeah. Me too.
It doesn't answer questions.
Hey, good. Can you check YouTube?
Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
I assume so. Let's see. It takes about 15 seconds away. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, I should turn in a second. Just make sure. Yeah, okay. All right, thanks.
So
The national.
Federal Employee Benefits. You know why we don't have this? I'm going to keep myself. I'm not allowed to. Bigger and better.
Is that okay? I want you to go talk to them. Yeah, just do a little YouTube video. You do that? You'll be fine. Were you inside?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just friends. They're friends. Yeah!
Why don't you investigate? Why don't you
met him before.
Probably along
What's his
the
last
lines.
name?
I don't know. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
No, it's just.
So, I just want to see if well, to be the Google, to direct the Google.
Yeah, I don't have to get anymore.
Yeah, actually, nobody else is connected. I think that's.
I could ask my friend Sharon what's inside. That's why I'm not staying in this one. Emotionally,
No.
I can't take it. Me too. See, I have to be honest, I'm emotionally drained.
Yes.
United States Marine Corps to have Darrell Issa or anyone else treat my country the way it's being treated. I did not don the uniform of the United States Marine Corps to have Russia be our arbitrator in our elections. To have Planned Parenthood destroyed. I did not put on a uniform to have Donald Trump in the White House. Not my guy. Not my guy. I did not put on a United States Marine Corps uniform to have President Devon send our education down the gutter. I did not put on the uniform of the United States Marine Corps to have an uneducated non-believer put in front of me. I did not put on the uniform of the United States Marine Corps to have a gentleman who was given a medal for his works and his deeds and his thoughts by Vladimir. Now, the reason I took this mic was we were talking about the Planned Parenthood. I have a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful 46-year-old daughter who went to college, who struggled, who went to work and became a teacher. And on the way, I could help her only so much. She was a single mother. So she used Planned Parenthood as her health care. They found the beginnings of her cancer. They took care of that. She is alive and well today because of Planned Parenthood. Because of their puritanical crap. I thank you for letting me take the mic. I am pleased to do it. I am pleased to march. I am pleased to talk. I am pleased to go all out, all up. Okay?
So they're talking.